Why, hello there everyone. So I've been wanting to help out Paul a lot with this YouTube stuff and filming videos and creating content. And one of the things that a lot of people have asked and that he's also wanted to film was a labor and delivery story. She's almost 3 months old, but better late than never, right? In a nutshell, my labor was long. Delivery happened quick, but it was also very long. But at the end of the day, all that really matters is this little girl. This little girl being alive and healthy. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I could cry about it all the time. So I was due July 26th. Multiple times throughout my entire pregnancy, they would always tell me that she was on the bigger side of the spectrum. So she was always measuring 2-3 weeks ahead of time. They expected her to be 8.5 pounds. So I expected that I would have her early. My doctor had mentioned that I was going to have her early. So I worked all the way up to 38 weeks and 5 days, or 4 days or something like that. So I decided, okay, awesome. If she's gonna come 2 weeks early, I'm going to take off 2 weeks before my due date from work. That's the start of my maternity leave. So that's what happened. July 14th was my last day at work. I had an appointment the following Monday, which I believe was July 16th. And then my doctor says, oh, you're not gonna have her until her due date, if not after. So I'm like, well, dang, like, how can, for so long, you guys are telling me that she's measuring early, and then now she's not, and now she's gonna be inside me for a while. And she says things change day to day, week to week. And I was like, I get it, but this stopped me from going to work. So I just had a feeling in my mind that she would come before her due date. I did every active thing I possibly could do at my house during those 2 weeks before she came. Now, July 26th rolls around, my due date, and I'm still pregnant. I started that morning, I started feeling some sort of minor like period cramps, but nothing to the point where they were excruciatingly painful. So that was a Thursday. I went on with my day. I was afraid that they would progress, so I told Paul not to go to work. And so we just went to go eat lunch with my mom. And that night, I had started feeling stronger period cramps, if you will. When I was not pregnant, I was getting my periods. I never really had like insane cramps or anything like that. It was solely just discomfort. So I was like, this is weird. Friday comes around when I started really feeling these cramps, and they got stronger and stronger, and they would come every 2 to 3 minutes, and they last about 30-45 seconds. They were pretty awful, and it was hard for me to breathe through them. And they always tell you, you know, if it's hard for you to breathe through them, or they're coming every 2 to 3 minutes and they're lasting a minute, come right in. So I was waiting Friday. They're coming every 2 to 3 minutes, and I called the doctor, and the doctor said, it's your call. You can come in and we can check you to see how far dilated you are, or you can wait it out and see. So I decided to wait it out for a few more hours, and they're still consistently coming at the same rate of 1 to 2 minutes and lasting 30 to 45 seconds and up to a minute. So that night we went to the doctor. We went to triage, and they said, you're only a fingertip. A fingertip. Like, you have to be dilated like this much, and I was that. To be experiencing that pain and only be dilated a fingertip, I was like heartbroken. And that was like 2 in the morning. So we came back home, it was 4 in the morning at that point in time. And I was able to sleep. Now, Saturday morning, kept getting contractions. They were coming stronger, and they were still lasting the same amount of time. The most difficult part was that at about like noon on Saturday, they kind of slowed down, and they're coming every 5 minutes, but they're still very painful, and they're still lasting a minute. Paul and I went on a walk. We walked around the neighborhood a few times just to get myself active, and that really helps with, you know, accelerating labor. There was a point in time where I literally had to hold on to him because of how strong those contractions were. Saturday night to Sunday morning, I wasn't able to sleep. They were coming so regularly. Imagine walking the whole night from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. walking your house, going through contractions. That was literally me. It was pretty awful, and I felt bad. Like, Paul tried to stay up as much as he could, but at that point in time, there's nothing he could physically do to help me and to help relieve my pain or to progress my dilation. So that was pretty rough. And I had felt like, well, dang, like if I have been experiencing this for the second day now, going on to the third day, because I started Friday and this is Sunday morning now, I had to have progressed some bit. So we went to triage again because they were pretty bad. They were coming, like I said, at that point, it picked back up to 1 to 2 minutes and they're lasting a minute long. We went to triage, they checked me and they said, you're only 1 centimeter. I literally broke down crying to the nurse that I was only 1 centimeter dilated. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. I was like, why is this happening to me? You know, what am I not doing right? I just was thinking like all the things that I was doing wrong for her to get here, and I felt like I was being defeated because I had this pain that I couldn't get rid of, and I felt like I wasn't doing enough to get her here. Then Sunday morning, my best friend Jordan came over, my mother came over, and we went on a walk again. So we were walking and walking and walking around this huge park by our house. It was hot as hell. Remember, this is the end of July. And also she was pregnant too, like 34 weeks pregnant. And she was still walking with me. Get out of here, she's such a strong person. But nonetheless, so at this point in time, I'm 40 weeks and 3 days past. Okay, so we're walking, I was getting these contractions and still feeling awful. Yeah, huh? You know you were there. Yeah, I didn't tell them. So that was happening. My sister-in-laws came over and they had brought me a smoothie. They asked me if I wanted a smoothie. And secretly they put dates in there because dates are supposed to help induce labor. I didn't really taste them. It wasn't a big deal. The smoothie was good, but it did not do anything for me. So we come back home and I said, hell, we need to get this baby out of here. We really need to get her here. So they had gone to the store and they also picked up castor oil. Now, if y'all know what castor oil is, it doesn't taste bad, but the texture is awful. It's a laxative, a liquid laxative. Okay, so they made me drink. They didn't make me, but you know, they were really, really, really strongly suggesting I drink it with some orange juice. So I drank it. Oh man, and like an hour later, I like literally felt the laxative actions working because I could not be on the toilet. TMI, but that's really what it was. That was rough. Then my best friend left, my mom left, and it was just me and Paul, and I was still getting these contractions. I was tired as hell because, like I said, I didn't sleep very much. Then and then I was experiencing what castor oil is supposed to do, give you the runs. And I was drinking all this water and it was coming straight out of me. Gross, but it is what it is. I was taking baths and it was helping a little bit to relieve some of the pain, but it was still painful. It was just so painful. The night came and I was like, there had to been something happen, because if I'm experiencing contractions since Friday and it's Sunday night, there must have been some sort of progress. Now, in order for them to admit you into the hospital, you need to be at least 5 centimeters dilated. So that morning I was only 1.5 maybe. So we went back to triage and they checked me and I was only still 1.5 centimeters dilated. I cried again. I was like, I don't know what I'm not doing. And in the end, I realized I was being super impatient about her getting here and I wasn't experiencing labor as it was, and I felt like, and they probably noticed too, I was putting more stress on myself to want her to be here rather than just letting it happen on its own and with its own time. But I was like, hell, I'm already almost gonna be 40 weeks and 4 days. Like, how is this the thing? And I come to realize that that happens pretty regularly with pregnancies. Monday night, they're like, okay, we can have you go and walk the hospital for 2 hours and we can come back and check you to see if there's some progress. They said, but your cervix is starting to thin out and it's starting to feel like it's about to start getting into super active labor. So let's suggest this, the 2-hour walk. So that's what we did. We walked the hospital for 2 hours. Came back, nothing. Still 1.5 centimeters dilated. We came home and that was like at midnight. And then again, Sunday night to Monday morning, non-stop walking my entire house, going through these contractions. I was sitting on my exercise ball. I was sitting on the couch, leaned over. I was squatting. I had a heating pad. I was trying to do everything to help relieve the pain. And it did for some most parts, but it was nothing too extreme. There was a medicine ball. It was on a chair sitting in front of me like this, and I was leaned over. And every time I experienced a contraction, I shouldn't have tightened up, but I did. My initial reaction was to tighten up. I'd tighten up. And then when it would go away, I'd lay on the medicine ball and I swear to you, I'd fall asleep. And then I'd wake up with another contraction. And imagine that's happening for like every 2 minutes. This is the crappy part, is that from Friday to now, almost Monday, I only probably slept like a max of 12 hours. So I'm zombie exhausted just from experiencing these contractions. Monday morning comes and my best friend comes over with her son. And we're just sitting there and the contractions kind of sort of stopped. They would come every 10 to 15 minutes, but they were very strong still. I was laying on the couch and our plan was to go walk or, you know, continue with the exercise to keep going. But at that point in time, I was so physically exhausted that I slept on the couch all day. I didn't do anything. I cried some more. I just felt again that I was defeated. Like whatever that was happening, something in the universe was making me feel defeated, making me feel like I wasn't doing what I needed to do to get this girl out of me. I got a message from Paul's aunt, who is a labor and delivery nurse, and I get so emotional reading it still to this day, but she had told me that with time it'll happen, and if you just clear your mind that you let God or whoever you believe in take its course, and that you trust that everything you're doing is happening and everything you're doing is worth something, that soon enough she'll come. And if you clear your mind and you clear yourself all of the frustrations, that everything will work out the way it needs to work out. So that's exactly what I did. Paul was also frustrated at that point in time because, poor thing for him, there's nothing that he could have done to help me, and he was concerned and he was, you know, wondering whether he should go to work or not on Tuesday. Yeah. And so we just said, you know, let's take it day by day and we'll figure it out like that. It's okay, girl. That's what happened Monday. Sorry, gotta feed the girl when she's hungry. Okay, so Monday night I started to experience really excruciating back cramps. So I would feel the contraction starting from my back and it radiate towards the front and low for me, but nonetheless it did happen that way. And I was feeling that from 10 p.m. till 8 a.m. and it was so bad. That was like the worst night of my entire life. I could have dealt with all the other contractions that I was feeling, but those were just so hard for me because it was all my lower back. When we went to one of the triage times, because you know I was a celebrity there, the one time we went, they gave me some pain medication to allow me to sleep and to rest. Because of the pain I was experiencing, I wasn't able to sleep. So that helped between Friday to Saturday. Like I said, Paul had mentioned to me, you know, let's just go again. Let's just see if there's something that they can give for you for your pain that you're experiencing. And I kept telling him, like, I really don't want to go and be told no again. Like, I really don't want to go and for them to think and like, why is this girl coming so often, or she's so impatient, or whatever it may be. So I didn't want to be told no again. Honestly, that was the biggest thing that was stopping me from going. So at the same time, the back labor was so awful. So then it was 9 a.m. and I said, fuck it. I'm tired of feeling this pain. Let's go. So we had gone to triage on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. like I said, and they realized I was dehydrated because again, that castor oil sucks the life out of you and sucks the water out of you. So I was severely dehydrated. They tried to put an IV on my left arm and they blew out my vein because it was so shriveled up of no freaking water. So they put it on my right vein and they said, you know, let's just at least get you hydrated at first. And then the nurse said, I've been told that I'm always a bearer of good news. She checked me. They said I was 5 to 6 centimeters dilated. I was in complete shock. I could not believe that I actually progressed in dilation and that what I was experiencing was actually going towards something beneficial, towards the progress and not just a stagnant feeling. But I was also in shock too. I was like, oh shit, like today's the day. Like today is the day that my daughter's gonna be born. Paul and I, like, Paul jumped up right away and he was like so happy and he was like, oh my god, we're getting admitted. And that's what I thought too. I was like, oh my god, we're getting admitted. So that happened. We texted obviously all of our loved ones. We told our parents, brothers and sisters that we were getting admitted to the hospital. And the funny part is when I went in on Tuesday, my contractions were happening about every 5 to 10 minutes, but they were hella strong. So that's why I was like, no, I don't want to go in and for them to tell me no because it's not as consistent as it should be. But nonetheless, still did it. So we got into our room 2117, and my birthday is 2/17, so I thought that was some sort of sign. Went into the room and they asked me what I wanted to do for pain medication. I was like, give me that epidural right now. I told my nurse who had seen in triage. Another nurse came in and she's like, okay, we're gonna put you on Pitocin to start getting your contractions more regular. And I was like, no, like I want my epidural first. And that's what I told the previous nurse. And so she's like, okay, but we're gonna put you on this Pitocin real quick and then we'll call in the epidural. I literally was on Pitocin for 15 minutes and I swear I was going to die. Pitocin is no joke. Like they were coming every minute and they were so strong, and I just was like telling Paul, like, why are they doing this to me? Like I just wanted the epidural first. And I was concerned because when you get an epidural, you have to stay like completely still during your contractions. And if they're coming so frequent like they were, I was afraid that I wasn't gonna be able to stay still. So the nurse comes in to give me the epidural. So she came in, gives me the epidural. I was nervous about that because they say it's such a long needle and all that, but I was so focused on staying still that I didn't even obviously look. Paul didn't really look either. But I remember that during the time that I was getting the epidural, she said, stay really still at this point because she's putting some sort of like the needle in so that it like hits my nerves in the right spot. So it, you know, really numbs me down below. But I felt a big surge down my left side and I flinched a little bit. And she's like, well, what happened? What happened? And I was like, well, I just felt like a big, you know, shock down the left side of my leg. She's like, well, that's good to know because even the smallest, you know, millimeter would make a difference. So she adjusted it and I felt it on both sides. So I was feeling good at that point. Everything was fine, and then I didn't really feel any of my contractions, which was awesome. A couple hours had passed because I was still progressing, and right after I got my epidural, the nurse was checking me to see how far dilated I was, and I was at 8 centimeters dilated. But as she was checking me, my water broke. She broke my water. And it comes to find out that Elena pooped inside me. So there's a little bit of the meconium in the water. So she had reassured me that everything was fine there. They just had to make sure that a pediatrician was inside the room as I delivered to ensure that there was no meconium that would pass into her airways. So instantly as she came out of me, they had to suck her up right away to make sure nothing passed through. Because they didn't say it was a lot, it just there was some pieces of meconium in my water. So broke me, 8 centimeters dilated, everything was going fine. Well, then 30 minutes later, I started to feel sensation on my left leg, and they allowed me to I pressed my button to get more, you know, medicine through my epidural, but I could still feel like discomfort. It started as just discomfort in my left side, then it progressed to stronger, and then I would ask, am I getting a contraction? And they said yes, and I was like, well, I'm feeling it on the left side of my leg. And the nurses kept asking me, no, are you feeling pressure? I was like, no, I'm not feeling pressure. I'm feeling like a sharp pain, like radiating down my leg, like, and up like the side of me. Like, I know I'm getting a contraction because it's correlating to that. They're like, no, like it's probably just pressure. I was like, no, like I know what I'm feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, you know, going down that. So then the anesthesiologist had come back in and she gave me another dose of, or a different kind of medicine through my epidural, and they had placed me on my left side so the medicine can go towards my left leg to ensure that it also got numb so I wouldn't feel my contractions. So they had me like that, and then at that point it was about like 4:30 and they said, okay, in an hour we're gonna practice pushing. 6 o'clock rolls around and I was just talking, hanging out. I tried to close my eyes for a little, but I couldn't really do that. 6 o'clock rolls around and we start practice pushing, as they call it, just to see where I'm at, where she's at. She said she was very low, but there's a piece of like membrane that she was kind of stuck on, or I guess that the head was stuck on, so it wasn't allowing her to go as low as they needed her to in my birth canal. So they had literally had me like elevated at like a 90-degree angle with my legs down so that she can just slowly like move more down the birth canal. It had worked. It worked a little bit. 6 o'clock came around, I started practice pushing. And if you know me, I'm pretty blunt and pretty honest. Like, all right guys, please tell me if I'm doing bad. Like, I need you guys to be completely honest with me, because I'm not about to want to hear, oh, you're doing good, if I'm not. Like, I need to be told, like, I need you to do this better, you know, that was a good one, do it like that, because I just don't like to be sugar-coated. And I'm not a person to sugarcoat shit either, so they said, okay. I was pushing, and the problem is at 7 o'clock is when they transition from the day shift to night shift. So I lost all the awesome nurses from the day shift. That was like, I knew some of them and all that. So we went to the night shift. There's still awesome nurses there. I was very appreciative of them. But night shift comes around and they started having me push again. It's tough because when you get an epidural, you can't really feel super down there. So they kept telling me to bear down, and what that really means is like push like you're trying to poop. But it was hard for me to do that because I couldn't feel anything. So I was pushing and pushing and pushing. I still was trying to push, and they're telling me I was doing good, but then like she still wasn't coming down as much as she needed to be. And you have to imagine every time you push, like imagine like the birth canal is at the end. When you push, you'll push her, but sometimes she'll go back too. So it's a constant like this kind of thing when you're pushing. Cause you push and you get the pressure out, but then pressure goes back and pressure goes back. I was pushing and pushing and pushing. 8 o'clock rolls around and they said, okay, we only have 1 more hour left before we have to take other measures. Other measures means a C-section. And I literally was crying. I was like, I don't know what I'm not doing right. And I was like, I want her out. And I was so concerned. And then in the back of my mind and to myself, I was like, bitch, you gotta do this. You can do this. Whatever it takes, push harder. And I just got like this super urge of like energy. And I was pushing for 2 hours at that point, from 6 to 8 o'clock. And I get this swarm of energy. And the doctor had gone in, was helping me, or checking me out, helping me, and she's like, she probably thought to her like, well, this is gonna be a while for them. So then she left. There was a few more pushes I did, and then all of a sudden they're like, call the doctor again. And at 8:34 I had her. I did rip a few places, partially because I think they ripped me because they were really trying to stretch me out. So that was fine. It wasn't fine because I felt some of the stitches. So they had to stitch me up, but like, when she was born and when they laid her on me, I just was in shock. Like, I could not believe that she was here. And I'm a person that really likes to observe other people when, you know, things are happening. So when she was born, I was looking at my mom, I was looking at Paul, I was looking at my best friend, I was looking at, you know, my mother-in-law to see like their reactions, and they're all crying, and I'm just laying here like, oh my god, I was such in shock that she was here. I heard her cry for the first time and like all that, and the first thing I did, I smacked her butt. Nonetheless, 5 days later after my due date, Elena Marie arrived weighing 6 pounds, 15 ounces. So she was 1 ounce shy of 7 pounds. She was 19.5 inches long, and the best little thing that's ever happened to me. If I experienced labor for 5 days, anybody can. And I'm not very kind to pain, so there's that. But 2.5 months later, full of Milky, and she's the cutest damn thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Right, girl? Right, girl?